for Inside Utah Politics with Lindsay Aerts.
Well, welcome into IUP Plus today. So glad you found us. News for Utah Plus is our free TV streaming app on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. So tell your friends to download it there, or you can find us on YouTube. Just search for Inside Utah Politics, and you will find us there. Joining me today, a couple of political analysts to break down all of Utah's headlines. Taylor Morgan, Leah Murray. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we? Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
We are so festive today. We
Happy
decided in our red and green and a nice tie.
Thank you.
You gotta get out of the way of the mic
you gotta
there,
scoot to the side
so they can see you.
There we go.
Yeah. You also gotta get your mic right up close to your face so you're not too quiet, because we have audio hawks who watch this show, and they will be mad.
I want to just say for the record, has it ever been said before that Taylor
Yeah, I
Morgan
was
might
going
be
to
too
say,
quiet?
I have been told that I speak very loudly.
Well, I didn't
So,
say you.
Yeah.
We
Didn't
give them the
talk
quiet
enough.
mic, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try and compensate for
Or is
these
it-
things. You know, not always an elegant solution as a producer, but it was worth a crack.
You
We'll
know,
do our best.
we tried to put you in the middle as a token man, but
Thank
it
you.
just didn't work. Yeah. So yeah, pull that mic right up.
Okay.
All right, let's dive into our topics, shall we? I did some reporting this week that the Utah legislature is likely poised to expand Utah's state Supreme Court. We have 5 justices right now. That will likely expand to 7 after this legislative session. The way I found this out was a senator said it on a podcast. So, and I was listening to it.
Why? And you're listening to senators talking on podcasts
Well-
other than our show?
Well, yes, I listen to all, different types of podcasts, so
That's
I can
fair.
get well-rounded issues and
Yeah.
hear both sides and hear perspectives. I like to be media literate, It's kind of informed. It's kind of what I do.
That's great.
So this was a right-leaning podcast where I was, just listening to all the different perspectives. And Senator Todd Weiler talked about how they're going to expand the court probably the first week of the session. I'm working to get confirmation of the timing of it. But nonetheless, what do you make of this, guys? I need the pros and cons of expanding the court. Todd's argument, Senator Weiler's argument was, look, in 1896, when we became a state, we had 300,000 residents and we had 5 Supreme Court justices then. Now we have 3.5 million people in Utah. Is it time to expand?
Well, I don't know that the proportional representation like Congress necessarily applies to the state Supreme Court. They're not elected to represent districts or geographic parts of the state. It's an interesting argument. I think this is the latest phase of the battle of the branches, if you will.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
The ongoing war between Utah's branches of government. We have seen the Utah State Supreme Court with its 5 justices over the last year check the Utah legislature in a way that they haven't done, at least since I can remember. It has been decades since the Utah State Supreme Court ruled against the Utah legislature in such a significant way. And the legislature, of course, has lost on all levels with litigation lately. And, they are trying to move forward and trying to do what they can to have a little more influence in the judicial branch.
Yeah, Leah, I need the political science perspective before we get into the politics of it. There are 28 states across the country who have 7 justices. We're one of 17 who has 5.
Right. No,
The rest have 9.
To a certain extent, I would like to respect the senator's argument, which is maybe 5 is not enough. I think that Utah is a growing state. I would imagine too the caseload. Do you know what I mean? Is more than sufficient to have 7 people. But man, doesn't it sound like you asked for my political science answer, but it sounds like a court packing plan, doesn't it? So when you feel like the judiciary is not doing what you want, which is what Democrats felt like under a Biden administration, then one of the things you pitch is increasing the number, right? That's how you bring the judiciary to heel. One of the ways that you've got oversight in a battle of the branches is to name a new number of justices, which then allows Governor Cox to pick 2 new people and this Senate to approve 2 new people, hopefully for them more in line with what they want. So it's probably fine, right, from the senator's argument. The argument would be we probably do need 7. But the timing just feels very much like Taylor says.
And Taylor, that's what I wanted to bring up. You do these campaigns, you do, communications for folks, and we all know the legislature doesn't have the best PR record, and perception is the reality when it comes to to politics, right? So to Leah's point, it may be fine to raise 7, but how do you justify this in the context of the legislature and the judiciary kind of hate each other right now?
Yeah, I think the argument about expanding the court just because of our population growth, okay, I can buy that. I can go with that. But if the expanded court represents all of Utah's demographics, I mean, when is a conservative Republican judge not going to get approved by the Senate? They're not going to approve in the Senate, confirm a liberal, a Democratic nominee for the state Supreme Court. That's just not going to happen. So if we go from 5 judges to 7 judges, are we really getting any more thought, any different opinions, any different perspectives, right? Just by having more people? Maybe we could, but I would argue that it's not necessary. It's a little bit like when I play rock, paper, scissors and I lose to one of my boys. Best out of 3. Oh no, best out of 5, best out of 7, right? We just
keep
continue
playing
to
till you win.
expand the possibilities when we're losing. So again, I can understand there's some good arguments to make here, but the timing of this is what is difficult in terms of public relations and the optics, right? The legislature is trying to appeal to the state Supreme Court right now. And so to change the composition and the structure of the court before which they will appeal a very important case, it's just bad PR.
Right. I would just add, I don't disagree with anything that Taylor just said, but you're not wrong. Like, we're going to get a Republican. It's going, like, a Republican governor is going to nominate someone that a Republican Senate's going to confirm. I think the difference with 2 new would be very recent nominations, right? Much more, not beholden, that's the wrong word, but much more the people who picked you are still in office, right? Whereas maybe some of our current judges, there's a little more distance, right, from when they were chosen. So the party and the ideology would all be the same, but maybe the loyalty to the current elected official structure might be more in play.
And a couple of things I want to bring up too in the context of this conversation. You know, in this podcast where this information was revealed, Senator Weiler was talking about it in terms of, hey, we don't like the ruling that's happening. And guess what? There will be 2 new justices. So we'll see where this goes, right? That kind of signals to me that he was sort of saying, you know, if we have some more textualists maybe, and I'm putting words in his mouth, that's not what he said, obviously. But, you know, if we have some of these more conservative justices, perhaps they rule in our favor. But at the same time, this is an idea that's been floated for a while in Utah. I mean, Senator Weiler floated it 3 or 4 years ago. A month ago, Governor Cox said he supports the idea.
President Cox, I think.
Vice President Cox, said he supports the idea. And then there was a bill filed last year opened to expand the court, and it got abandoned. So it's not the first time they've done it. It's not a new conversation, but it feels like this time it may have legs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to the concept. I'm not opposed to doing that. Again, in Senator Weiler, I think it's a great idea. You know, I understand where you're coming from. It's just a timing issue. The timing is really difficult this legislative session, given what's happening with the legislature and the courts.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Another hot topic I want to hit today is over in Australia, where they have instituted a 16-year-old social media ban. This is kind of mind-blowing, and U.S. senators were really, and representatives were really reacting to this, wondering if it's time for the U.S. to do the same thing. First blush, guys, when you hear about a ban at 16, this is something that Governor Cox has said also that he supports. He has said those words, and that's so interesting coming from a Republican. What do you make of Australia's 16-year-old social media ban?
Well, I think that if you've decided social media is the scariest thing that happens to children, right? Like this, it's like banning cigarettes. I mean, like that's maybe not a great analogy, but I feel like when we've been talking about social media, when you decide that there's a public health harm and you've got children, young people who are being affected by it, then I think the government is right to move in. Like, we don't allow people under the age of 16 to have a license. We don't let people drink under the age of 21. There's all sorts of arbitrary ages where you've decided there's a public health crisis, and therefore the government's got to say young people cannot do this. I'm super interested in Australia, how do I say, doing an experiment for us, right? So to a certain extent, we've been arguing about this. I think we have talked about, like, can we ban cell phones in schools, right? Can they go into those little pouches or whatever while students are in classes? So we've been talking about this for a while. We will learn from Australia how best to manage or something, right? Like, so how that happens, how those industries react, we'll get a good idea of how well it works. I think it's interesting, and then I'll stop, I do apologize, but Australian teenagers are like, man, we're going to figure this out and use it anyway. So a little bit like they're like, yeah, there's a ban, but we're probably still going to use it.
You can also just change the year on your birthday.
That's right. So it's an interesting.
Well, there's some stricter protocols with the age verification in Australia. You don't have to upload an ID, but you need to enter identifying information that will search a database, right, of public records.
Yeah, we're really uncomfortable with that here
Yeah.
in the United States because we don't like our information, right, being used or uploaded in any sort of way. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Taylor, how do you see this? You've got young boys.
I've
who
changed
are
my
this
mind
age.
on
Really?
this. And I think Leah and I, in the past, we have argued about this a lot. My previous position was that it's not the government's job to step in and
Right.
save kids from lazy parents. Parents and families need to address this at home. Parents need to do the work of either keeping their kids off social media or monitoring their kids' social media. Ultimately, it's the parent's responsibility. However, we have seen the data regarding youth use of social media. It is clearly, without it, you can't dispute it, right? It is causing harm to our kids. The algorithms and the way that social media is targeting children specifically, I think we're at a point where it makes sense to do a ban similar to cigarettes and to alcohol and these other vices that we as a country have decided are so harmful to our society that they need to be limited to certain age groups. And, you know, kids, until brains are fully formed at 25 or 26, kids are the most susceptible group to social media.
A ban sure does make my parenting easier, though.
Right.
You know?
But listen, let's be real. Let's be
I
real.
feel
Kids
like
are going to get around this. They're going to find a loophole. Teenagers are so much smarter than
Not
us.
if you have a rule follower, though. I feel like I have a
Yeah.
rule follower at home.
But
Well,
I
then
want to
you're good.
also say, like, I feel like I persuaded Taylor. So I would like to note somewhere in the
Yeah,
historical
hey,
record
listen.
we've been having this conversation for a long time.
I'm all about good ideas, hearing you out, Leah, and every now and then you are correct. You get it right, and I'm happy to admit it.
Let's listen to what Governor Cox said on the topic just yesterday. I was in the same room with him as he met with two other governors on stage for a 3-panel discussion of former and current Utah governors. The three of them really talking about, this was Governor Levitt, Governor Herbert, and Governor Cox, talking about how social media has really changed the landscape since they all were in office. Obviously, Cox there currently, but let's take a listen to what he said.
I used to think it was great, and I've changed my opinion on that. I think it's so hard for us as a society to operate as a society when we're not working with shared facts. When you get to choose your facts, and we can be talking about the same issue and talking completely past each other. I used to think it was great.
I'm curious, Cox is on social media a lot, and he's admitted, he fights sort of that battle, but he has now gotten national recognition for his disdain of social media and for the pushes that he's doing, right? So far as to call him to run for president. The top, political opinion writer at Politico wrote something this week calling him to run for president because they need like an anti-tech person who can do this. What do you guys make of what Cox said there?
Yeah, I really think this is a big part of Spencer Cox's brand. Utah has led the nation in a lot of ways on dealing with social media and youth use of social media. I think that clip was talking about political ideology a little bit. I think that is an issue with social media. I think it's something different, though, when we're talking about the mental health of kids on social media. But yeah, Cox is known for this. He has led out on this. Utah has passed significant legislation on this. Meta is very unhappy with the Utah legislature, and they don't care. So,
And governors, they're just like you, Taylor. He changed his mind too.
that's right.
Right,
Yeah.
but don't you also think too? So I'm just going to kind of. I remember Governor Cox in the wake of Charlie Kirk's shooting, and he, touched my heart. Right, like I don't say that really the way he said, "I'm just trying to get people to stop killing each other," right? Or I can't remember exactly
Shooting
the
each
language.
other,
shooting
yeah.
each other,
Yeah.
and a little bit if you think we are not speaking well to each other, if you think. You know what I mean? That we can't see each other and we're not really being good humans with each other. And you think social media is the problem, right? Like that, that event happening would prove to you, no, this is a much bigger crisis. And I've been arguing with the Taylor Morgans of the world, and I believe in freedom of, whatever. But the answer is this is a major crisis, and we need to move.
Yeah. By the way, guys, at that event, Governor Cox reiterated he's not running for president. Let's take a look, shall we?
Hopefully we've passed a few things on to Spencer Cox, and now that he's running for president, it's nice to know.
Oh, Gary.
Let me just make it very clear. That is not a thing. It is never going to be a thing. It is not happening. So we can put that to bed right now.
Hopefully we've passed a few.
See? Put it to bed,
Oh, I love it.
How many times do you think candidates put to bed that they're not running for president before that? Let's add that to the list.
Oh, please.
Writing
please.
a book, being in Nevada or New Hampshire, putting to
If
bed.
he's running, you guys, he's going to have to eat so much crow, so much crow.
No, Lindsay. He is saying he's not running for president.
Oh.
He is not saying that he is not positioning himself to become the nominee's pick for vice president.
Oh,
But
right.
also, Taylor, wouldn't you say, I can say, I'm not running for president, and then I can say, look, they asked me.
The
There's
calls
clearly
just
such a
got too
demand.
loud, yeah.
The call is too loud.
He
and so
did
that
in
I'm
his
not looking
interview.
eager.
In an interview with none other than our own Lindsay Aerts, Governor Cox did say essentially the same thing. So we need to get that. We need to cite that in the show post, right? So that people can go and watch Governor Cox refer to his run in that way, if the voters would support him.
We shall see. I don't believe it, but, I've been wrong a time or two, I guess, in my life. All right, finally here, let's talk about a national issue that has been bubbling up the last couple of days, and that is the possible declassification of marijuana as a Schedule I drug. For those unfamiliar, it's basically akin to any other hard drugs out there, right? That
It's
are
on a list with heroin.
illegal. Yeah, the same type of drugs as heroin. So Trump administration seriously considering, he said, declassifying this drug. Taylor, I want to disclose that you have some conflicts with the medical marijuana industry.
I
Why don't
lobby
you-
for a medical cannabis company here in Utah.
So talk about, from that perspective, now that you've disclosed, who helps pay your bills, how does this declassification help or hurt the industry?
Well, it's difficult, right? Because we've had a patchwork of regulation with cannabis use across the country. Utah is surrounded by 3 recreational use states. We have a medical only program that is really highly regulated and restricted to, limited kinds of conditions and forms. And this reclassification at the federal level, it's the right thing to do. I think it's proven, the data has shown that there are some benefits to cannabis use, that it is a lot less harmful than other Schedule I drugs. I think some of the criminal penalties, related to a Schedule I drug are not appropriately or fairly applied when it comes to cannabis. So it's good. I think it's a good thing. Now, it doesn't really necessarily impact Utah's program. There are some things with entities and taxes and some legal issues that would essentially be a positive move, but no immediate direct impact to Utah's program.
Leah, is this a federalism issue with states should be able to do what they want with this, or do we need a federal level here?
Oh, I love that question, right, Lindsay? Because the answer is right now, Utah's medical cannabis law is out of compliance with federal law. So technically, and correct me if I'm wrong, the DEA could roll up to your industry that you're lobbying for and arrest all of you for having cannabis, which would be a scheduled drug, right? So it is, how do I say? I think states should be allowed to do what they want with regard to how they regulate health issues. I just have, I tend to be a federalist on that point of view. But then what you need is the federal government to not say, oh, and it's also a crime. And so technically you could be arrested for doing it.
It just doesn't make sense to have cannabis as a Schedule I drug at the federal level, but then to not be enforcing it. I mean, number of states across the country, we're surrounded by them. Our full recreational adult use, there's no enforcement from the federal side. So this is a very fascinating conversation about federalism and the patchwork of federal and states' rights. We'll see where this goes.
And what I love, like one of my lectures in my intro class is how come you can smoke pot in Colorado but not in Oklahoma? And I do this whole in Oklahoma, the same use of marijuana results in 2 years in jail. I mean, like this whole kind of difference.
Yeah.
But what you need is the federal government to get out of the way and let the states to do it. What I liked in President Trump's message was if we declassify this, then maybe actually some, how do I say, medical research could be done to
That's
see.
the key. That's
right?
the
So
biggest
Right.
impact,
So
yeah.
states can have, you can have medical cannabis or recreational cannabis, but you can't do research because
Right.
to
Yeah.
get grants
We
for
need
that.
to know more. We
Right.
need to study it and understand. That's a great point.
And
Leah.
if we
I'm
could
so glad you brought
solve,
it up.
I think, part of the opioid crisis that we have in this country by maybe using more natural drugs like medical cannabis, we need to be able to know that that's possible. We need to do research to do that.
Yeah, if we don't have the information,
point.
we can't make those decisions. Taylor, how do you see this impacting, like the issues with people going across state lines
Yeah.
to get, like you said, we're surrounded by 3 recreational states, but here we're a medical state. People are still going across state lines. And just it's easier than going through the regulations of
Yeah.
your industry.
It's a great question. We have about 100,000 patients in Utah's medical program, but according to estimates by Utah state government, Department of Agriculture and Food, they estimate that 60% of those patients actually buy their cannabis on the black market from, not on the black market, from a recreational state.
Right.
Or
Like they
on the
drive to
black
Colorado.
market.
Yeah.
They either
Yeah,
buy it
right.
illicitly or they go to a surrounding state to get it, because the medical program has a lot of hurdles you have to go through. You have to find a qualified provider. You have to get a recommendation. You have to then go to the pharmacy. You can do it, and there's convenient options, but there's a lot of regulation when it comes to renewing your patient card. You cannot do it over a virtual visit, for example. You can get OxyContin on a virtual visit. You cannot get cannabis in Utah. Any hurdles like that mean patients will go and get it across state lines. And if Utah wants to keep its medical program and avoid becoming a recreational use state, we've got to make the medical program easier to access, easier to use.
What I'm hoping is the declassification kind of rolls back decades of misunderstanding about cannabis, right? Which would lead you to have such tight regulations, right? Like the fact that you can get oxycodone, and not get your cannabis card when
Your
we
THC
know,
gummies.
right? It's just
Yeah.
not.
And Utahns strongly support the medical program. 80% of voters like it, support it. And for the first time ever, 52% of Utah voters actually would support recreational use. So this is really, it's moving in that direction, and Utah's got to get ahead of it.
Are we seeing changes to our medical program coming this legislative session?
I don't think we'll see anything really sweeping. I think we're trying to fine tune it, improve it.
Okay. We shall see where it goes. Taylor Morgan, Leah Murray, thanks for all your perspectives today. I loved all of these conversations. Excuse me, producer Peter, thanks for being here. I'm sorry.
Of course. Always a pleasure.
Was I loud enough?
No, absolutely. Listen, I was over here fine-tuning
be
the
louder.
exact level of acceptable Taylor Morgan noise.
Excellent.
Oh, I love
okay.
that Taylor
That's
Morgan
great.
noise.
Just have to, you have to dial that the knob down a bit for me.
We'll get feedback one way or the other. It's a sensitive process.
Perfect.
We just have some audio hawks who watch the show, so I want to make sure we're keeping them happy for sure. Thank you both for your opinions today. Make sure you watch Inside Utah Politics on ABC4 at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Sundays. And we will see you next time.